222nd meeting of the Equal Employment Practices Commission to order.
Aye. Second.
Okay, and I want to ask for approval of the minutes of the meeting of June 4th, 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes have been approved. Okay. The third item on this agenda says audit status report, agencies currently being audited 27. That means you make your numbers again?
We're hoping to. We have a lot of PDs that have been going out recently, because the summer is slower and we had a lag, and then we had new people that we had to train. But the PDs that are going out have limited corrective actions, so I believe that we'll be able
To make your number again?
Yeah. And then we just started a number of community boards too, which haven't been audited in 5 years. So
That should answer your
back to
numbers.
them.
Yeah.
Right. So those are listed here. If you want me to read them, it's.
I don't think it's necessary.
No?
Make a
Okay.
stand for the record.
For the record, yeah. Do you want me to read them or you want to read them? I'll read them. 4 borough presidents, Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. The Bronx Community Boards, the Staten Island Community Boards, the City Clerk, Clerk of the Council, the Office of the Comptroller, Office of Collective Bargaining, Office of Emergency Management, Financial Information Services Agency / Office of Payroll Administration. They're one agency now, they merged. So did the Department of Homeless Services and the Human Resources Administration, the Office of the Mayor, the Department of Buildings, and 3 follow-up audits for non-compliant agencies, which were the Queens County District Attorney, the Public Administrator of the Bronx County, and the Public Administrator of Richmond County.
Okay. Well, it's now August. So
We probably won't-
theoretically, you may make your 27. But you might. Have we completed any until we get, what have we completed so far? On
That's a
age-
good question. Do you have that
agency
number,
audits.
Judith?
What we've completed so
The
far.
amount.
How many,
The resolution
how many
number.
audits have we completed so far this year?
This year.
Let me look at the resolution.
Well, we have one agency which is completed up until the final determination, and that's the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. However, we have not, then that agency is now in compliance monitoring, which generally speaks.
So there are no agencies, other than the 27 that are currently being audited, we have not completed an audit of any other agency. Is that correct?
That's correct. If we think about the audit, the first part of the audit is gathering and analyzing the materials.
Yeah.
These audits were initiated in April, I believe it is, and so we are
We're up
at
to-
the point,
Sorry, we're up to resolution 13.
we're at the point of final determinations on, issuing final determinations of, preliminary determinations of the analyst's findings, of the EPC's findings of the agency's work.
Okay, so we began no audits in January, February, or March. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We may not have, because we were doing the back work, which is the questionnaires and the pics online. We were building them to
Right.
send to the agencies.
Okay.
So that allows us to start a little bit later, but we did a presentation where we showed you that now the questionnaires that we use, we actually built in a feature where they can upload their documents. So if they respond to a question, they upload the document to show us, to demonstrate that they did that thing. So it's a little better in terms of collecting the documents, but we had to build those questionnaires.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand where we are in terms of a total number by December 31. which
So,
is the annual.
my answer is, the short answer is that by that time, we should be complete with most of these. Right now, we have 13. A lot of them will be coming back now. Summer's a slow season, people don't respond, all
Right.
of those things. But we've sent out some PDs recently, and so they only have 14 days to respond, then they have the final, and then they go into compliance. And most of the agencies that we've sent out the preliminary determinations for don't have that many corrective actions. So we anticipate that we should be able to reach the 30, right, by, the end of the year.
Okay, that was
That's the short
my
answer.
question, okay.
And also considering the nature of the audit, it's a very focused audit
It's on sexual harassment.
and on complaint practices, and so the corrective actions are very direct and
Yeah.
and manageable for the agencies as well.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, so, Jen, this is your,
Oh,
Your first.
compliance report.
right, she just has, to report on one agency.
Yeah, right now, DOHMH, Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, they just submitted their first compliance report. They have 2 corrective actions. The compliance report basically indicated that they are still working on implementing those corrective actions. But it's basically holding managerial employees accountable for enforcing the protocols and the policies and practices and updating their managerial evaluation plan. So I anticipate that being resolved relatively quickly, and then they will be done with compliance, and we can issue a certificate of compliance for them.
Alright, so we can't vote because they're still going through it, correct?
Well, this is the resolution for the final,
You can vote, here's the resolution.
Oh, okay.
yeah, for the
This
final
is for the final
determination.
determination, which is where the commission votes.
Alright, so I call for a vote on resolution number 2018, 8P/222/816, parentheses, 2018, Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. All in favor?
Aye.
A second. Okay, it passes.
Okay, so the next on the agenda, we're gonna Patrick with the research unit. We're sending out the invitations for the public hearing.
For the 27th time.
Well, we're calling it the public hearing, but it's really a conference, the 28th,
The 28th of what?
September.
September
Next
9/28.
Oh,
right, next month.
It's 9/28, and it is now at New York Law School.
sure, I got it on here.
Right, and,
What time?
the final draft of the invitation will be 9 AM.
9 AM.
Breakfast is at 8:30. The
Okay.
final draft will be sent to you today, as soon as Patrick gets in. We have the invitations, we were waiting till a month in advance to let everybody know. I think that's a decent time.
Okay. What do you expect the attendance to be? Do you have any idea?
We're inviting all of the city's HR and EEO people, which would be about, we expect the attendance to be maybe around 150.
Oh,
or so. We're aiming for,
yeah. Do you remember how many times we had, to the other one that we had at Scholastic? Could I have that to send?
Sure.
as Scholastic, we have around 9,
Yeah.
Yeah. So because we also invite the committees from the council. We're gonna invite the labor committee this year, but we'll invite the committees, the labor and the civil rights committee, we're gonna invite people from DCAS, DCEEO, along with the city HR and EEO.
Right, I had it over here for Barbara.
Yeah, that's who we're inviting. If you have any other suggestions, we can invite other people.
What is the address of the law school?
The address?
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
You know what you might wanna do? Ask the dean whether there's anybody from his faculty that ought to be invited. Ask
The law school?
ask Anthony Crowell whether there's anybody from his faculty that ought to be invited.
Okay. So that's the update, we'll send you more details.
And my next question is, do you wanna have it open for some of his students to attend?
That would be a bad
I
idea.
think that's a good idea.
Is the format gonna be similar, or do you have any smaller group, is it all together as one?
Yes,
Yeah, then definitely.
No, we're not gonna have, you mean breakout sessions?
Yeah.
No, we're not gonna have breakout sessions.
Yeah, that's how we would like this, you guys, I mean, this, but
Yeah.
definitely the staff and I like the idea of the students as well.
Yeah. That's a good idea. They would have to RSVP because I think we budgeted for a certain amount of food. But,
Well,
we'll
I
see.
wouldn't worry about it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you run out of coffee, you run out of coffee. It's just,
They'll probably cover
okay. So the next on the agenda, Judith, is the open data.
Okay, so, good morning. So New York City has something called an open data playbook. New York City wants to make its information as a government available to the public, anyone who wants to do research. And so, the EPC has its own, has created its own data set for inclusion in open data, New York City open data. And so while normally the work that we do is for the benefit of the city and is more internal, we're not publicly facing, there have been times where members of the public, mostly it may be researchers, maybe journalists, contact the EPC and want to find out about the work we do. Well, the open data allows researchers to do research and come up with information and have access to at least the entrance of where to look. And so what we propose, or what I've proposed as the data set for the EPC, we have several data sets. They are agencies under EPC jurisdiction. So the data sets are basically Excel sheets and can be accessed.
Yeah.
So so agencies under EPC jurisdiction, a list of city agencies. EPC audit history from 1994 to 2018, to June of 2018, which will have the number of agencies EPC has audited, the number of employees, at that time, at the current number of employees, not the number at the time that we did the audit, and other information, just very simple information
I have a
of
dumb
when
question.
we have these, when that's
I'm interrupting
conducted.
with a dumb question. Isn't our annual report a public document?
It is.
Yes.
Why do we need to do anything other than just give them copies and put the annual report online, period?
All city agencies are part of open data, and in terms of a data set, they want a data set that can be searchable. So if they put in a keyword, employment practices, then that person may come up with various things, but they will come up with Equal Employment Practices Commission. They'll find out our jurisdiction, our history, resolutions from 2015 to June of 2018, EPC's audit plans from 2014 to the present, 2018. Those are the data sets.
So let me ask two
And isn't
questions
that all
related to what
part
you
of
said.
our annual report?
Yes.
Right,
yes,
but by putting it
has
in that
been.
format, it's gonna be searchable, whereas it might not be searchable in the annual
Yes.
report, is that what you're
Oh,
saying?
yes.
Okay, and then, so, and then my second question is the information that's being provided, is it standardized in any way across, agencies? Is that the reason why you're putting it in that format, or is it just, this is what you're proposing, other people will propose what they do, but because it's all in Excel spreadsheets, it will make it more searchable than by putting it in another way, I'm just trying to figure out.
Right, I understand. Yeah. Actually, I'm working with the open data team and I actually worked with Dennis Chen, our IT person, and Patrick Boyle, research to determine what would be EPC's data sets, because naturally I thought, well, our annual plan, go to our website, it's right there.
Right.
However, EPC is required to comply, as every city agency is, with this NYC open data. And so really finding a way to give some information which is it will most likely lead to FOIL requests, and we are, as a government agency, we're subject to FOIL requests. It will also give a broad information, and
Well,
it's searchable,
I
and
guess
that's-
I'm back to, can't we, as part of our data subset, say, see annual report and just list the annual reports?
I think that they
Well-
they give criteria, and yes,
Yeah.
to answer your question directly, that can, information that can fit into a certain type of criteria across agencies. So, yes, to answer your question, I guess it's similar information across agencies. And so they want us to put it in sort of a data format so that you can search for it. Yes, the question you're asking is the
Yeah.
question I asked.
Can we please, even with that, go back to these wonderful human beings and say, we have a complete document that we file annually. Would you please reference it in this data set? We can reduce our FOIA requests.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why make more work for Mother? Why don't we centrally tell
I'm with you.
everybody
Well-
that there is an annual
They have
report
it,
that we
yeah.
file, period. Just put that in as an
See what
asterisk.
happens.
Okay, we have until, also, actually, what I do need to get the commission's input on is the date when it will be published. It's not published yet. So, it can be published anytime up until, December 31st. The data sets I just mentioned to you, these already exist, these already have been sent to, or will be sent, after this meeting, will be sent to the open data team section of Do It, and to get their input. I can add
Would you
a
please
data
add
set
to it,
as
say that as an open data set, we would like to include either the annual report itself or citations to the annual report, so that anybody looking at it for any reason can get access to the annual report.
Sure.
Since all of this information is there,
I-
why are we adding to the bulk, since we provide it to the public?
Right, and in fact, our annual reports are more informative, they give a lot of information
Right,
on how EPC works.
but on balance, you have to look at each individual annual report, right? And this is a snapshot across, like
Correct.
you said, right? So, I mean, if you're doing your PhD paper, if you're doing something, it'd be easier to have it collapse than it would be to go through each of the annual reports. Not saying that why we have to do that, I mean, it's your report, so you figure it out. But, I could see why in this format is a more collapsed, way to access the information rather than having to go through each
I
of the
agree
annual
with that,
reports.
having said that,
But-
I-
but
I would like to
our
reduce
issue.
our FOIA requests,
Yeah.
and therefore make it clear even in this, that it's, if you want more information, it's accessible here, and
Mhm.
how to access it.
Right,
I can't imagine that they can't do that, you know,
sure,
it doesn't fit in with what they're attempting to do.
right. Okay,
Alright,
thank you. And in terms of date for publishing, it can be, as I said, up until December 31st.
I don't think we care.
Okay, so,
Whenever
I-
you're finished, you're finished. I
okay,
don't think we
You should,
care.
It'll
you should put what's up to you.
okay, great. Okay. Most likely
Another way for you.
November.
What's best for you, sure.
Okay, most likely November, just so we
Yeah.
can have everything. Okay, great. Okay,
Okay, moving on.
thank you.
Charter Revision Commission updates. The City Council's Charter Revision Commission, I think, hits on some of the topics that we suggested to the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission. The two, I guess, topics that we would fall under, that they may be, looking to explore is strengthening the city council to advise and consent role, and improving mayoral appointees to city agencies and commissions. We're in a city agency that does not have mayoral appointees, so I think that would revisions here is that,
The 30 days or so.
right, that,
They have to act.
and a vacancy should be filled within 120 days.
Yeah.
A new member shall be appointed within 120 days. The other thing is implementing stronger oversight of the mayoral administration. The EPC is, we consider ourselves an oversight agency. I think we can fall into those things, and so I would send the same letter and pretty much talk about how we fall into those two areas to the council's
Yep.
Charter Revision Committee when they convene, and see if we can get a meeting with them.
Right. Follow through.
Yeah, that's,
How about we
Just keep
tell the
trying.
mayor's appointment,
Oh,
go on record to the mayor's appointment that we're sending it off to the city council? Perhaps that would make them act. Send them a copy of the letter that you sent to the city council and highlight the piece where they're supposed to act within 120 days.
I just wanna make sure that I heard you correctly. Did you say that because we don't have mayoral appointees?
because we currently, our mayoral appointees are in expired terms.
Okay, all right.
And we
And
don't
here's
have
how
a
chair.
chairperson.
Yeah, no, I know that we're out of, but
Yeah.
what I just wanted to make sure that I, heard you correctly, because I was like, no, we're supposed to have mayoral appointees, but that's what you're saying, that was your.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Right, so because they're in expired terms, technically, I mean,
We're holdovers.
Mhm.
We don't exist.
Yeah,
you serve at
got it.
Yeah.
your pleasure. Really. I mean, you can leave tomorrow. So I think those are the two areas
Yeah.
that we should focus on.
Yeah.
Another thing is, Jen and I spoke a lot about this, and Judith, about just implementing the suggestions that, the approaches that we're suggesting anyway.
Yep.
We can revise our paperwork, we already published the agencies that are under our jurisdiction, we can revise the paperwork to refer to agencies as municipal entities, or something that's more general for the agencies that don't think they're agencies. We
Here,
can send.
jurisdictionally, we have a lot more that you could do if you wanted to. It seems to me that every single one of the bids gets money out of the city fisc. They therefore are under our jurisdiction. We could look at every bid if we wanted to.
No, there's some reason why the business improvement districts aren't under our jurisdiction, isn't there? I
Yeah.
looked it up recently and I have to.
I don't know why.
remember. Well, we'll
Yeah, we
research
have,
it.
we have to look into that, because I believe some of these things were looked into and decision 1190 and
The
the
bids
levy
do get money out of the city fisc.
out of the city treasury.
Yep. And once they get money out of the city treasury, they not only raise funding from the people around them, but I believe they also get money from the city fisc. They are appointed by the mayor,
Okay,
each of the heads of the bids.
we'll look into it.
I don't know that I necessarily wanna make more trouble for you,
It's not trouble.
but there's a lot of money going through there, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
issue.
that's true.
Right.
That's true.
There's a lot of money going through there, and there are a lot of issues of how they're appointed. I mean, I think it's as messy as the city council. You know, I'm,
Right. So, and more often, I mean, we've really been, our jurisdiction has always been, has been with city employees. The charter is for the city to be an equal opportunity employer. And so even though the bids do receive money from the city treasury, if those are not city employees.
well, I don't know that
think-
they're not.
Yeah, so I think that's something to look into.
No,
I
each bid is
think-
run by a not-for-profit
Yeah, they're not.
organization.
They're not city
Mhm.
employees.
We have to look into this deeper. They're
Yeah.
run by a not-for-profit organization, and aren't they under SBS? The
All
Department of
business.
Small Business Services,
I don't know about
which we
that.
wanted anyway. So anyway.
But
we
you
have
don't know
to-
what are the subdivisions.
No, but it may be because of the nonprofit. We'll look into it.
Yeah.
Look into it and see. But my
Interesting.
recollection is that the mayors appoint people to head the bids. And then they're there forever.
Local stakeholders oversee and fund the maintenance, improvement, and promotion of the commercial districts. Well,
The
Because
only
we've
thing
looked
that came
into
to
it
my-
before.
Yeah, I know. The only reason for raising it is when I was looking at the charter, it looked as though we had jurisdiction at any point where the city money flowed through. So go back and look at that's the only reason that I raise it. Because when we were going through and doing our task, I look back and we had greater jurisdiction than we have been exercising. Doesn't mean that we are gonna necessarily exercise it, but you might wanna look at it.
well, if
Because it goes back to the point you're making, which yes, it is a matter of the level playing field for city employees. But if there is city funds flowing through, then it is, why are they not covered by the same rules as other people who are employed using city funds?
because does TRS have city employees?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what
It's TRS.
the
Teachers'
teachers
retirement
retirement
system.
system. Okay, good. So what I'll do is, I will edit the documents, the EPC documents, and I'll send copies, red line copies, so that the commission can see what language we're proposing in terms of moving forward with what we're suggesting for the Charter Revision Commission.
You might also wanna know, this time round, so that we are not somehow surprised, ask them to please notify you of what the scheduled dates for their public hearings are, so we can attend at least one or more of them.
Yes.
Rather than waiting for it. I mean, I don't know where they publish it, but somehow we missed it
We
with mayor, so we,
look on the city council's calendar. They have a,
yeah, but I think you want to in writing,
yes,
ask them to publicly
agree.
notify you of
I
what the
agree.
dates are so that you can attend one of the hearings. Because unless we are there publicly making a point in front of whoever they appoint on the commission, it will disappear in paper.
correct, and the final item is, we spoke about the training for EPC employees, that we conduct our own training, and that we made a decision to inform the city council and DCAS of the EPC's training of its own employees with respect to sexual harassment.
Yeah, no,
Anything else we wanna say on
we're
that?
gonna write a letter to the speaker, copying DCAS indicating that we, are not going to comply. We don't believe we need to comply, or some other verbiage.
In terms of reporting, right?
Right. We will
Or
conduct.
we will report directly to the council.
Right,
rather
we will,
than
we will
through-
conduct our own training and we will report it to the council, because we are not a mayoral agency. So do it affirmatively as opposed to negatively. I'm always too negative. Or
So I'll send a draft of
confrontational.
that. Okay, so, anything
Now
else?
do we have it? So good luck on, September 28th.
Yeah, you,
gonna be there?
Of course I am.
so I'll be sending updates in the interim.
We'll all have fun.
We're not, the EPC, the EPC has a presentation that we'll send you beforehand. It builds on the occupational segregation report that we've already sent to the commission, we sent it a few times. But, so we have a piece that Patrick is gonna do this year as our director of research. So, The format will still be sort of like we did the last time, but we didn't do any polls or anything this time.
And you're not inviting
And-
DCAS, or you are inviting DCAS, but you're not giving them a role?
Right, I don't think they'll have a role in this
Okay.
one.
So that's
So-
different than what we did last time.
Right. It's just
Do we
informal.
wish to invite the press?
You could, if that's what you.
Should we invite New York One? Should we invite, what is this, the city newspaper, it's the
The chief.
The T,
The
huh?
chief, the
Chief.
AM, New York,
Chief.
which one? Yeah, the chief.
Chief. Chief. I mean, you're talking about promotion and within, for city employees, and you're talking about, in some sense, I'm gonna use the term segregation, but I don't really mean that, but you're talking about,
Occupational segregation. that's-
occupational
yeah.
segregation. So it seems to me that it's certainly something that affirmatively we're dealing with, and maybe you want to get some greater press among the city employees. And
Yeah,
that
that's
says
the
to me, it's the chief.
Yeah.
And then the next question is, do you wanna invite the unions?
Well, I was, the thing we're doing different this year is we're also inviting the labor committee from the council.
Right, and so
Now, in terms of the unions,
I
mean the heads?
Yeah. I'm asking, I don't know the answer to the question, so I am merely raising it. I am not affirmatively saying, yes, do it, or no, don't do it. But to the extent that you are, in some sense, I think the union rules themselves do a disservice to the employees. And we have gone there before where there are no female painters, and they're not female painters because the unions don't allow females in, so there aren't people that can go up and, we have discovered it with Department of Buildings. There are roles that are male roles and females aren't there. The uniformed services, when you look at the numbers, that's where the greatest number of people are. They tend to be male, so you don't have female sanitation workers, and you really don't have female fire people, and you don't, I don't know whether you want the unions there or don't want the unions there, but they're part of the
I have no problem.
issue.
Right, it's with the commission wants to invite.
I don't know the answer. I'm just raising it.
So we'll just put together a list of the unions.
You might ask Commissioner Daniels what she thinks. She has a better sense than I do. Hmm? She's DC 37.
Didn't know she is, but I wonder if we were adjourned or if this is, if we were.
No, we're still on the record. But, so that's the final thought, or?
Yeah. I really am just raising it. I have no point of view one way or the other. But if what you wanna have is an open dialogue of a issue that is facing the employees and therefore inhibiting promotion, which is what it is, then shouldn't all the parties to that dialogue be there, whether or not they necessarily agree with the positions you're putting forward or not? You at least are opening them up to understanding what the issues are and where it's coming from. And we did that the last time around, when we talked about inherent discrimination, and some of the research has been done because it's just subtle. We don't really understand that we are discriminated, but it's based on where we come from and what we do. So I just raise it as to, if you looked at who should be part of that dialogue and what role they play, you clearly want to have some coverage from the press because you want people to know you're dealing with this problem, which is a very subtle problem and affecting the workforce. You also probably want everybody within it who's a player. And unfortunately, I believe the unions are part, have a role to play. So, are we finished? Can we move for adjournment?